I worked in a children's home for approximately 12 months. It was such a privileged position to be in. I was able to affect change, I think, a bit more easily or readily in comparison to being a therapist who sees a young person once a week.
And I do think there is something about having this as a step into that sort of therapeutic world. And it's not magic, it will give direct insight and you'll be working alongside us as a whole team.
So one of our new ideas is to recruit coaches or support workers who are heavily involved with the therapy team and gain some experience delivering some kind of therapeutically informed interventions. Can you provide a bit more information and context as to what we're looking for and why we're interested in this role?
We already have and are embedded within the SuperCare teams within the houses, but there's something different about actually being part of the coach team. So we call support workers coaches where we're working, just because actually they're doing the vast majority of the work. With the young people, it's important that we value them and have lots of aspects of their role that is quite visible. The therapeutic skills need to be as embedded there as we can get them. So we have this idea within the therapy team that we would, rather than having psychologists like us and assistant psychologists, we would also have therapeutic coaches who would be influenced by all the therapies that are occurring within the team. So it might be psychology predominantly, but it also might be our occupational therapists, our speech and language therapists, our behavioural therapists, maybe also from our dietitian input and our other sort of therapeutic support, and just really be able to have those skills and that knowledge there embedded within the pod teams, the working teams, every part of the day for our young people. What kind of people do you think might be interested in the role?
Well, I think we're seeking anybody who has an interest in psychology primarily. So we're looking for people who are wishing to pursue a career in maybe clinical psychology or educational psychology. And we recognise how difficult it actually is to get those assistant psychologist positions or gain clinical hands-on experience in order to progress in the career. And so I'm quite excited about this role in particular because I think we're both quite passionate about giving people opportunities to access this profession. And so a big part of what we're trying to offer here is firstly that kind of hands-on experience with young people in the care system, but secondly hands-on experience with the psychologists and the therapy team. We hope to offer CPD opportunities, so continuing professional development. That can include maybe workshops on different psychological models or presentations that we often work with in the care system.
I was also thinking that some of the really important work that we'll be doing is on reflective practice. So what's happening in the role on shift, and then being able to be best placed to think, actually, this strategy doesn't fit because of X, and I've seen it in practice, and actually what would be a better fit for us might be this, and then having that loop to support the staff, the coaches, through the therapeutic coaches and through us, and just aligning everything so that it feels even more integrative. We haven't had it before, so it's a new start for us, but I think lots of people will be interested in it, and we're also committed to supporting people to gain the experience that they need in order to get onto whatever their next career steps are, because we have some insight into that, being relatively newly qualified, coming from a training background, and they would have supervision with us.
Yes, and that's great fun. I can guarantee that. What's really interesting for me is when I started to pursue a career in clinical psychology, I worked in a children's home for approximately 12 months. And in comparison to some of my assistant psychologist roles, I feel like I had so much experience and it was such a privileged position to be in. Having that kind of direct contact and consistent relationship building with young people in care, I was able to affect change, I think, a bit more easily or readily in comparison to being a therapist who sees a young person once a week. And so when I interviewed for the clinical doctorate, when I was asked questions about my experiences, I heavily relied on reflecting on my role as a support worker. That was curious for me because I thought I would reflect more on being an assistant psychologist in the NHS, but actually that kind of lived experience of being able to consider how those relationships that I built as a support worker were integral to the care and the support that the young person received, again, was really valuable. So I think my hope for this role is that we can replicate that to an extent, whilst giving people, additional access to support from us.
And I do think there is something about having this as a step, this as a step into that sort of therapeutic world. And it's not magic, but it will give direct insight, and you'll be working alongside us as a sort of whole team. So, and who knows, we might get around to one day being able to do some research. It would be lovely to do that, wouldn't it?
That would be the dream.
And we would need help with that.
Absolutely. Yeah.